Jadi tak dono dia dik.
Adun itu. Amisat no, aran. Laga deh nu? Hanya ni dia katakan. Saya kan dembuat desa bedi. Hah? Saya yang kesal terbalik. Mata nak saya. Saya ni cuma saya ni. Saya ni ada. Saya best. Mana tu berapa dia? Saya ni juga apa? Saya ni jalan balik itu. Saya ni jalan jalan betul. Zatur berzembudar ni dia jadi. Saya ni makan ada. Yo tak saya ni jalan ya bani. Kesaya ada kan. Itu pun gue sudah mau normal ya. Bukan kadang lu cakap kau ini. Ya kedua nanti. Tu bayo kau jiro kau bago kau bago benda bersih jiro.
Tapi Emirates gara ada rekor kan? Sar ketalun telah aku bilang. Sar ketalun. Saya baru hulu buat ini ya kan. Dalam agak politik hamlai. Mana melemai sabu? Ini melemai tak kan? Ini awak cuma kena coach. Akan sering patrol. Nama sekali. Berhurmuzahun. Nda yang fu. Bukan kamar terbaca. Mereka buat sesuatu itu kan aja. Sadar. Minum mereka. ያደረጉት ጥቃት ስትራክቸሩን ከማናጋት የዘለለ ፋይዳ አልነበሩ። አሜሪካ ዶናልድ ጄ ትራምፕ በቪክትሪ መንፈስ ተነስተው ሲዘምሩ ሲያቅራሩ የነበሩ ዋይት ሃውስ ላይ ቆመው ከላይ ቢቱ ቦምበሮችን ሲያስወነጭፉ የነበሩት ባዶ ነበር። እሱን ይዞ እንደዚህ አይነት ወሬዎችን ሰምታችኋል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ኢራን አሜሪካን እያስፈራራች ትገኛለች። 10,000 ፍልስጤማውያን እስረኞችን የምትፈጪ ከሆነ ነው አብራሪሽን የምንለቅል ስትል እንግዲህ ገልጻለች። አሰላሙ አለይኩም ወራህመቱላሂ ወበረካቱሁ። ውድና የተከበራችሁ የዛድ ሚዲያ ቤተሰብ እንደምን አላችሁልኝ? እኔ ያለሁላችሁ ዛሬ በድጋሚ ተመልሰን ተገናኝተናል። ዛሬ ለተምሩ የተለያዩ ወቅታዊና አነጋጋሪ የሆኑ ቪዲዮዎችንና መረጃዎችን ይዤላችሁ ተከስቻለሁ። ሀሳብ አስተያየታችሁን የሰጣችሁበት እንደዛውም ቪዲዮውን በላይክ ጀምሩ አትርሱ ያልኳችሁ ውድ ቤተሰቦች እንግዲህ እንደሚታወቀው በመካከለኛው ምስራቅ እየተካሄደ ያለው ጦርነት አሁንም ተጠናክሮ እንደ የተለያዩ የአሜሪካን የሆኑ የጦር ሄሊኮፕተሮችን እንደዛውም የተለያዩ እነዚህን ጄቶችን ለማገዝ ወደዛ ሲበሩ የነበሩትን እንግዲህ መታ እንደጣለቻቸውና እዛውም የኤፍ-15 አብራሪ የነበረውን የአሜሪካን ተዋጊን ለማግኘት እንግዲህ በሁለቱም በኩል ያሉ ተዋጊዎች ወታደሮች እንግዲህ ወጥቶ ሲፈልጉት እንደነበረ እና ያው ለማግኘትም በጣም ከባድ እንደነበረ ምክንያቱም እሱ የነበረበት ሎኬሽን በጣም ከባድ ከመሆኑ ተነሳ ለሁለቱም በጣም ከባድ ነበረ። ምክንያቱም በጣም ተራራማ ነበር። በመጨረሻ አውጥታለች። እንግዲህ እንዴት ነው አወጣችው? በጣም ከባድ
operational tactical airbase buried inside a mountain with command posts, maintenance hangars, fuel depots, all built underground where no satellite could see. And Iran says it is just one of many. But here's what makes this story truly extraordinary. How does a country under the heaviest sanctions on Earth, cut off from Western technology for over 4 decades, build secret underground airports inside mountains. How do you park fighter jets from the 1970s deep inside a mountain and keep them combat ready for decades? And what happened during the June 2025 war that proved these underground bases may have saved Iran's entire air force from total destruction? The answers are waiting inside these mountains. And before we go in, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe to Military Engineering Stories. Shock and drop a comment below telling me what you think about Iran and engineering stories on the planet. And you do not want to miss what is coming next. Chapter 1. The lessons written in fire. The story of Iran's underground air bases does not begin with engineers or tunnel boring machines. It begins with destruction. It begins with the memory of watching an air force get annihilated on the ground. In June 1967, Israel launched the Six-Day War with one of the most devastating surprise attacks in military history. In a matter of hours, the Israeli Air Force destroyed the entire Egyptian Air Force while the planes were still sitting on the tarmac. Hundreds of aircraft were wiped out before they ever got off the ground. The attack was so swift, so precise, and so total that it changed military thinking across the entire Middle East forever. Iran's military leadership studied that war obsessively. They understood that any country that left its aircraft exposed on open runways was handing its enemy a gift. If your planes can be seen, they can be destroyed. If they can be targeted from the air, they are already dead before the war even starts. That lesson was reinforced brutally during the Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 1988. When Iraq invaded Iran, one of Baghdad's first moves was to try to destroy the Iranian Air Force on the ground, exactly as Israel had done to Egypt. But Iran had already learned. By the time the Iran-Iraq War started, Iran had begun hardening its air bases, building reinforced concrete shelters over its aircraft, and dispersing its planes across multiple locations. The hardening of air bases saved Iran during the Iran-Iraq War. The Iraqi Air Force could not replicate Israel's devastating success against Egypt. Iran's fighter jets survived the initial strikes and fought back effectively, but the Iranian leadership knew that hardened shelters on the surface were only a temporary solution. Modern precision-guided weapons would eventually make surface shelters vulnerable too. The only truly safe place for an air force was underground, inside mountains, beneath hundreds of meters of solid rock where no weapon on Earth could reach. That realization set in motion a construction program that would take decades to complete. Iran was going to take its air force underground, all of it. There was another dimension to this urgency. After the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran lost access to its primary weapon supplier, the United States. Before the revolution, Iran had been one of America's closest allies in the Middle East. The Shah had purchased over 500 fighter jets from the United States, including more than 200 F-4 Phantoms, nearly 300 F-5 light fighters, and 79 F-14 Tomcats, arguably the most advanced fighter jet of its era. These aircraft were the backbone of Iran's air power. But after the revolution, everything changed. America imposed sanctions. Spare parts stopped flowing. No new aircraft could be purchased. Iran was stuck with an aging fleet of Western-built jets that could not be replaced. Every single one of these aircraft became precious. Losing even one was a strategic blow because there was no way to get another one. Then something bizarre happened. In January 1991, during the Gulf War, Saddam Hussein panicked as the American-led coalition obliterated Iraqi air defenses. He ordered the evacuation of his remaining air force to Iran. Dozens of Soviet-built aircraft, including MiG-29s, Sukhoi Su-22s, Su-24s, Su-25s, and Mirage F-1s flew across the border and landed at Iranian airfields. Iran never gave them back. Despite protests from Iraqi diplomats, Tehran declared the captured aircraft to be war reparations. Now Iran had a mixed fleet of American, Soviet, and French aircraft, all irreplaceable, all aging, and all desperately in need of protection. Plus, the decision to build underground air bases was not about ambition, it was about survival. Chapter 2. Eagle 44, the Mountain Air Base. For decades, the underground airbase program was one of Iran's most closely guarded secrets. Then, in February 2023, Iran pulled back the curtain and showed the World Eagle 44. Iran's Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Mohammad Bagheri and Army Commander General Abdulrahim Musavi visited the base in a carefully choreographed media event. State media cameras captured them walking through massive underground tunnels where F-4 Phantom fighter jets were parked and being prepared for missions. Eagle 44 is carved into the mountains of Hormozgan province in southern Iran, approximately 120 kilometers northeast of the strategic port city of Bandar Abbas. The location is no accident. Bandar Abbas sits directly on the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategically important waterways in the world. Roughly 20% of the world's oil passes through this narrow strait every day. Any conflict involving Iran would almost certainly involve the Strait of Hormuz, and Eagle 44 puts armed fighter jets within easy striking distance. The base is described as being at a depth of hundreds of meters beneath the mountains, deep enough to withstand bombs dropped by American strategic bombers. The facility includes an alert area where aircraft are kept in ready-to-fly condition, a command post for coordinating operations, aircraft hangars large enough to house and maneuver fighter jets, OSH repair and maintenance centers where aircraft can be serviced underground, navigation and airport equipment for guiding takeoffs and landings, and fuel storage tanks for keeping the jets fueled and ready. Iran's military described Eagle 44 as a hybrid base, capable of operating both manned fighter aircraft and unmanned drones. The jets stationed there are equipped with electronic warfare systems and armed with a variety of weapons, including Yasin-guided glide bombs, Khem precision-guided munitions, and Asef cruise missiles with a range of up to 1,000 kilometers. This means an F-4 Phantom taking off from Eagle 44 can strike targets across the entire Persian Gulf region, including American military bases in Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, as well as naval vessels in the Strait. Open-source intelligence analysts quickly went to work trying to geolocate the base using clues from the released footage. Satellite imagery analysis placed it approximately 30 kilometers west of the town of Tarom in Hormozgan province. What was particularly interesting was that satellite photos showed the base was still under active construction at the time it was unveiled. Mock-ups of Russian Sukhoi Su-35 fighter jets were visible at the site, suggesting that Iran was preparing the underground base to receive new Russian aircraft. Iran is expected to receive approximately 24 Su-35 fighters from Russia, and the mock-ups were being used to ensure the tunnels and hangars were large enough to accommodate the larger Russian jets. But here is the crucial detail that Iranian officials emphasized repeatedly. Eagle 44 is just one of numerous tactical underground air bases that have been constructed across Iran in recent years. The Iranian military stated that similar bases exist in different strategic locations throughout the country, all taking advantage of mountainous terrain to maximize survivability. Chapter 3: Strategic Drone Base. Eagle 44 protects Iran's manned fighter fleet, but Iran has built an entirely separate underground network for what may be an even more important weapon system in modern warfare. In May 2022, 9 months before the Eagle 44 unveiling, Iran revealed another underground facility called Strategic Drone Base 313. This base is hidden deep inside the Zagros Mountains, the massive mountain range that stretches from northwestern Iran down through the western and southern regions of the country. The unveiling followed the same dramatic protocol. Iran's Chief of Staff General Bagheri and Army Commander General Musavi were flown by helicopter to the secret location. A television reporter was blindfolded during the 45-minute flight from the city of Kermanshah and only allowed to open his eyes upon arrival. What he found inside the mountain was staggering. More than 100 military drones were stationed in the tunnels, armed and ready for deployment. The arsenal included Cayman 22 long-range drones capable of flying over 2,000 kilometers, Ababil 5 drones fitted with Qaem 9 missiles, which are Iran's version of the American Hellfire missile. Hydra 6 reconnaissance and strike drones armed full of long-endurance missions, Korar jet-powered target and combat drones, and Arashino suicide drones designed for kamikaze attacks against enemy positions. The base also housed new weapons that were unveiled for the first time. The Haidar-1 cruise missile, with a range of 200 kilometers and a top speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour, became the first cruise missile in Iran's arsenal capable of being launched from a drone. The Haidar-2 was a cruise drone variant that could be mounted on helicopters. According to intelligence estimates, the drone network extends far beyond Base 313. One analysis by the Israeli Alma Research Center identified a separate underground drone base carved into the Zagros Mountains near Shiraz in Fars province, approximately 10 kilometers from a surface airbase housing Su-24 jets. This facility was described as having at least 5 drone launch silos, 3 access tunnels, and a loading dock tunnel. The base extends for at least 3 kilometers and is designed to launch Shahed series kamikaze drones, the same type that Russia has used extensively in its conflict in Ukraine. By some estimates, Iran's underground drone network may house over 5,000 drones in total, spread across multiple hidden bases throughout the country. Now, I need to pause here because this is getting intense. If you are watching this far, you are clearly someone who values deep, well-researched military engineering content. Do me a favor right now and smash that like button. It takes 1 second and it helps this video reach thousands more people who want to understand how the world's most secretive military programs actually work. And if you have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Drop a comment below and tell me which part of this story shocked you the most. Chapter 4. The Underground Naval Fleet. Iran did not stop at aircraft and drones. The country also built underground naval bases along its southern coastline, creating hidden harbors for what is one of the most unconventional naval forces in the world. Iran's naval strategy in the Persian Gulf is built around what military analysts call the Mosquito Fleet Doctrine. Iran knows it cannot match the United States Navy in a conventional naval battle. American aircraft carriers, destroyers, and cruisers vastly outgun anything in Iran's fleet. So instead of building a traditional navy, Iran invested in hundreds of small, fast attack boats and missile boats. These tiny vessels can swarm larger ships, launch anti-ship missiles that lay mines, and then scatter and disappear before the enemy can respond effectively. The underground naval bases are designed to support exactly this kind of warfare. Carved into the rocky coastline along the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, these bases provide concealed harbors where the attack boats can be hidden, armed with missiles, and launched without ever being visible from the air or from satellite surveillance. The concept is simple but devastating. In a conflict scenario, hundreds of small boats emerge from hidden openings in the coastline, attack enemy vessels with missiles and rockets, and then retreat back into the mountain harbors before airstrikes can respond. The underground bases ensure that even if the surface harbor infrastructure is destroyed, the boats and their crews survive to fight again. Iran also uses these underground coastal facilities to store and launch anti-ship cruise missiles. The combination of hidden missile batteries and swarming small boats creates a layered threat in the confined waters of the Strait of Hormuz that would be extremely difficult for any navy to counter completely. Chapter 5. The war that proved everything. Everything Iran built underground over 4 decades was put to the ultimate test in 2024 and 2025, and the results proved that the underground strategy worked. In October 2024, Israel conducted precision strikes against Iranian military facilities. Then in June 2025, a full-scale 12-day war erupted between Iran and Israel, with the United States also joining to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. This was the scenario Iran had been preparing for since the 1980s. The strikes were devastating for everything on the surface. Air defense systems were destroyed. Some missile launchers were hit. Nuclear facilities at or near the surface suffered significant damage. Israeli intelligence estimated that about 2/3 of Iran's ballistic missile launchers and between 1/3 to 1/2 of its missile stockpile were destroyed or damaged. But the underground infrastructure survived. This is the critical point that military analysts around the world focused on after the conflict. Satellite imagery analysis showed that while surface facilities were left temporarily inoperable, the assets hidden deep inside the underground complexes almost certainly survived intact. Iran's passive defense chief confirmed that only minor repairable damage occurred at some access points to the underground facilities. The Air Force result was even more dramatic. In 2 full weeks of hostilities, with Israeli and American air power conducting intensive strike operations across Iran, only one operational F-5 fighter was confirmed destroyed. 1 aircraft out of an entire air force. The underground air bases had done exactly what they were designed to do. The Iranian command had moved its most valuable aircraft into the mountain shelters before the strikes began, and those aircraft survived. Iran demonstrated its surviving capability by launching over 500 ballistic missiles at Israel during the 12-day conflict. The volume of fire proved that even after absorbing massive strikes, the underground network preserved enough capability for a sustained counterattack. In the aftermath, Iran's military drew a clear conclusion. The underground strategy works, and they are building more. Satellite images from late 2025 and early 2026 show accelerated construction at underground sites across the country. Tunnel entrances are being buried under soil and concrete. New protective structures are being built over sensitive facilities. Mountain tunnel entrances are being hardened and reinforced. The Revolutionary Guard stated after the conflict that Iran's missile and aerospace program had advanced by several years as a result of the war, not fallen behind. The arsenal, they said, is full. For Iran's adversaries, the implications are sobering. The 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, the largest bunker-busting bomb in the American arsenal, is designed to punch through approximately 60 meters of concrete. Iran's deepest facilities are reportedly buried under hundreds of meters of solid mountain rock. Even the most powerful conventional weapon in existence may not be enough. The standoff between the world's most advanced air forces and Iran's underground mountain fortresses has become the defining military challenge of our time. It is a game of hide-and-seek played with hypersonic missiles and mountain-crushing bombs. And right now, the mountains are winning. That is the story of how Iran, a country cut off from the world, flying fighter jets from the 1970s, built secret underground air bases inside mountains to hide its entire air force, its drone fleet, and its naval forces from the most powerful militaries on the planet. And when the bombs finally came, the mountains was held. If you made it to the end of this video, you are the reason this channel exists. People who want to understand the real stories behind the world's most extraordinary construction and engineering projects. So here's what I need from you. Subscribe right now if you have not already. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Like this video because it directly helps more people discover this content. Share it with anyone who would find this story incredible. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Should I cover Israel's 5-layer missile defense shield next? North Korea's underground military network? The world's deepest bunkers? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one and your ideas shape the future of this channel. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.
ውሃ መሸጥ ወንጀል ነው እዚያ ጋር እንግዲህ ከላይ ቤተክርስቲያኑ ላይ ሰላም ላንቺ ይሁን ጸጋን የተሞላሽ ሆይ የሚል ጽሑፍ አለው ነው ይሄ ሁሉ አሻንጉሊት ሲመሽ ደግሞ እስቲ ምን ይመስላል የሚለው እዚሁ ቆመን ይምሻረው ይሄውና እንግዲህ አስመሽተናል እንትና ላይ መስለም ቆይ ይሄ ድራገኑ የያዘው ሰውዬ እንትናን አይመስልም ወይ ሉክ ሚስተር ቦንስ አይታችሁታል ፊልም ይንበረው ቤት ነው ዛሬ ያለ ነው ጫፊው ሀብታምም ድሃም የለባቸውም ከሚባሉ ሀገራት መካከል ግንባር ቀደም ሆና ለአመታት የምትመራ አስገራሚዋ ሀገር በስሟ መካከል ደግሞ ላቭ የሚለው የእንግሊዘኛ ቃል የተጠቀሰ የዋና ከተማዋ ስም አጠራ